Hi guys, and welcome back to my show. Today we're going to be watching some reactions to Dr. Phil and this one lovely lady from, I believe she is a commentator for PragerU. I don't know how to pronounce her name exactly, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. It's all about appropriation nations. Has it gone too far?
For me. Anything jump out at you?
Yes. They're in costumes.
Right. They're in costumes. These are all celebrities who have been called out, criticized, and condemned for cultural appropriation. Has anyone here ever called someone out for cultural appropriation? You too? You have? You have? Has anybody here ever thought twice about wearing something or doing something, even cooking something, out of fear of being accused of appropriation? You have?
Yes.
Yeah, what was it?
My daughter had braids and she wanted me to get braids that were just like hers.
Why her but not you?
She's half black and half white.
Okay.
And so I just think that some things should stick with those cultures.
Well, no matter whether you believe it's harmful or you think people should just be allowed to do what they want, there is no doubt this is a hot button topic that people are passionate about. Dr. Neil Lester, a professor of English at Arizona State University, right?
I am, yes.
And you've published, lectured, and taught extensively the area of African American studies. What do you think about appropriation? Do you think this is a real thing, something that people need to be cognizant of? And if so, why?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, because if we in fact are trying to look at the humanity of other people, and we are trying to live in a place where we are trying to be respectful and mindful of folks, then we need to be aware of things that are important to other cultures that don't necessarily look like us or share the same values. So it is a thing, and people need to be aware of.
Can anybody appropriate?
Anybody can appropriate, yes.
Not just white people.
Absolutely.
Okay, so one thing, y'all just saw how he said that. Let me rewind that for a second.
And we are trying to live in a place where we...
Do you think this is a real thing, something that people need to be cognizant of? And if so, why?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, because if we in fact are trying to look at the humanity of other people, and we are trying to live in a place where we are trying to be respectful and mindful of folks, then we need to be aware of things that are important to other cultures that don't...
Okay, so there's a lot that he just unpacked with that.
Don't necessarily look like us or share the same value.
Okay. He wants to talk about if we want to live into the humanity of it all. I can name one group that y'all do not respect. You don't care to respect or be mindful of their values, and that is of the conservative culture. You don't care that conservatives like that their children be educated, that their children get their moral values from their parents and not from their teachers, to make sure that, that they believe in a family unit. They believe in religion. They believe in common sense. But yet, you want, when it comes to this whole LGBTQ thing, you push your values on conservatives instead of just living your own life, living the way that you choose to live every single day, go about it, especially when no one is bothering you. Most conservatives I know don't go out of their way to make people's lives miserable at all. They may be more physically conservative, but when it comes to adults, they're very liberal. They don't care what you do with your life. Just don't impose your views or your culture onto them. But yeah, he has the audacity to sit here and try to spin this already. That cultural appropriation is not being mindful or respectful of the views of the culture they are trying to appropriate. Okay, so I just think it's weird how he wants us to all live in harmony and respect each other's values when we already know a set of cultural values in America or in the West that people are continuing to ignore.
So it is a thing, and people need to be aware of.
That is a
Can
thing,
anybody
and people need to be aware of it.
appropriate?
Anybody can appropriate, yes.
Not just white people.
Absolutely. Appropriation is intersectional. So old people can appropriate youth culture can appropriate old folks. People who are not incarcerated can impersonate prisoners or those who are incarcerated. Men appropriate women's attire for the sake.
Thank you. So when women say that we do not want men in our spaces, not because of we don't like you or anything like that, but when women especially have a problem with men who haven't gone through the surgery, the top or the bottom surgery, but think that they can come into our spaces simply because they identify as something or identify as female without giving into at least acknowledging that some women will not feel comfortable with you invading our spaces like this, okay? We do have a culture, we do have rituals and stuff like that. When we talk to our girlfriends inside the bathroom, all this other stuff, go to spa days and all this other stuff. You think we want men in our spaces? But yet, this man, let him go up here and say how when men culturally appropriate women, he won't be considered a transphobic, but let someone like me, a woman, actually speak up against this, then y'all want to call me all sorts of names. The cognitive dissonance here is astounding.
Sake of funny and mocking. So absolutely anybody can do it, and everybody on some level may have flirted with it.
Okay, but a lot of the time that people that I've seen are called out for this, it's not that they were making fun or mocking in some way. It was just that they had adopted a fashion or a style or whatever.
I would say that's a performance. So if somebody's culture and somebody's identity becomes a performance, then it's reductive. So if you're reducing, for example, say the civil rights movement to an afro, and you wear that, or you wear dreadlock wigs, that Rastafarians may wear, you do that because it's edgy, because it's cool, but ultimately because it's not you.
Okay, so when black women, and I was one of those who would wear fake women hair, primarily from India, the virgin hair from China, the virgin hair from let's call it Brazilian waves. You mean to tell me why aren't you getting on the women who, especially the black women who are wearing all these fake hair, telling them that they're culturally appropriating because they are trying to be something that they're not, especially when they're flipping their hair and all this other stuff. That is something, I mean, our hair can do that obviously when we take care of it, but why don't I don't see y'all going the other way with this. When black women decide to wear fake hair or that's real, they'll pay hundreds of dollars for some Indian girl in the middle of nowhere, or some in Thailand, girl in the middle of nowhere for her whole head, her whole ponytail, and you pay $400 for that. You don't see anything. You don't say anything about that? Why is it that we can get away with things, but when other people want to wear our hair or wear our styles that are predominantly within our culture, you got something to say about it? I swear to God, and it usually always comes from these black individuals who are all Afrocentric and bullshit like that. You so Afrocentric, but yet you won't even wear your own hair. And this is, him, he is a man. You can obviously clearly see he's wearing locks. But these other women out here, they're not wearing their hair.
You're getting some kind of cultural capital from that by doing it.
And who's hurt by that?
Well, it's not a matter of who's hurt by it, it's who's being disrespected by it.
Well, who's being disrespected by it?
A whole culture of people whose identities are wrapped in whatever you're dressing into and can then take off.
Amala, you don't agree?
I don't, no.
You think worrying about appropriation is a waste of time?
I think not only is it somewhat a waste of time, but it's nearly impossible. You just mentioned there are nearly hundreds of ways that one could appropriate somebody else's culture or their livelihood. And to expect any one human being to keep on top of that throughout their entire life, I think, is an unrealistic ask. And I think imitation is a form of flattery. I appreciate my food by eating it. I appreciate the hair that I wear by wearing it, by putting on the clothes that I wear. And every single item around us in this room could probably be attributed to a certain culture. Do we have to constantly worry about what culture we gain things from?
Does intention have anything to do with
Well, I
it?
guess I didn't hear anything about anybody worrying about it. What I hear about when I think about and talk about cultural appropriation is people becoming more aware of it. We could say the same thing about racism, sexism, homophobia. Just because you can't solve it and don't see it at every corner doesn't mean we shouldn't be aware of it and trying to address it.
Wow, do you
So,
really put those on the same level?
I absolutely do.
Racism and sexism, you put it on the same level as cultural appropriation?
That's exactly.
So if somebody wears their hair like you're wearing it, you put that on the same level as racism?
Absolutely.
And-
I
and
put
see,
that
this-
on the same level as white supremacy because white.
Okay, let me tell you something about these locks. People, especially black people who care so much about braids and locks, okay? Think about it, okay? The Danish have never been to Africa before they were seen wearing braids and locks and knotting up their hair. Okay, think about it. No scrunchies were around. Sorry for those. Contrary to popular beliefs, scrunchies were not around back then. Okay. I mean, when I would have like fake or installed, fake braids, I would take them and tie them, because if I didn't have a scrunchie or some sort of headband to pull my hair back. You mean to tell me that something like that is just like instinctual? Okay, if I need to pull something out of my face, of course, if I have my hair down, I'm going to try to knot it up. You mean to tell me these individuals back in the day didn't have the same common sense? They didn't have the same instinct to move something out of their face? Move their hair out of their face, especially if they chopping up somebody, by tying their hair in the knots? Locks is not only a part of the Rastafarian culture. There has been other cultures that have knotted their hair over time, and just because black people are wearing it, or just because over in the past we got well, if you know anything about locks and the nature of locks, this is not, about that, but just to give you a brief little story about it, one of the reasons why we weren't allowed to wear locks in America for so long was because locks was a figure of who had, certain powers in Africa. The longer your locks, it's kind of like Samson in the Bible, if you think about it. The longer your locks, the more authority it displayed to your village, okay? But when you cut off your locks, they cut off their locks whenever they became, captured as slaves and all this other stuff, so that it would deter individuals from looking towards that individual as the strongest individual in the group, in the pack, that could possibly help them break away from the chains or help them escape. There's a reason why locks were, banned for so long in our society. Yes, if you understand that culture, if you understand that history when it comes to black people, great. That's just and black people and locks, then great. But that you can't now just say that because it has such significance on the black culture that now that style belongs to you, when there has been many other people who have braid styles in their culture. Native Americans, you mean to tell me they've never had braids? What about the French braid, huh? You mean to tell me, come on, you guys are just looking for reasons, and just, I don't know, in my opinion, just reasons to just bitch and gripe and just complain and gripe about everything, okay? It's like y'all want to be acknowledged so bad when you don't even understand that you already are. People want to copy you. It is a form of flattery, like Amala said here. It is. What's going to be next? Food? You mean to tell me I can't be able to cook chicken korma, learn how to cook chicken korma in my kitchen, because that might be considered, I don't know, culturally appropriating? When will this stop? Y'all need to stop. And you keep acting like this. Most people will not want to embrace your culture if this is the way you're going to act. You want to be included in society. You want people to know about Black things. You want people to know about your heritage and all this other stuff and respect it. But every single time we turn around, you're over here complaining that someone's actually appreciating your and flattering your culture. You're going to push people away. Okay, when it comes to Black America. And then if, those who are white or not of Black America descent and they want to learn more about Black culture, they're not going to go to Black America. They're going to go to their African friends. Because apparently they're less annoyed about this than sensitive ass people like him. And you're supposed to be a professor, grow up and mature. Okay? This does nothing but divide us. This does nothing but shun us from society and shun us from individuals who actually want to know about us. But keep on. Y'all want to have your cake and eat it too? Fine. If it was me, I would say leave these types of people alone. Don't invite them to anything. They want to bitch and complain about their culture and someone appropriating it or at least appreciating it and showing it on display. Tell them you're not invited. We don't want you. We don't want anything to do with you. And see, if we did that now, you'll call us racist when we won't include you. You can't, this is why it's like a tug of war with these individuals. Damn if you do and damn if you don't. But anyways, without further ado, thank you for tuning into this, and maybe next time I'll do some reaction. I don't know. I'm starting to just become more comfortable and just speaking what's on my mind. I don't care anymore with trying to pussyfoot and be nice and appropriate to these individuals, especially when I see all this stuff in society happening that's making Black people just look bad. We need to stop. We need to come together and not, be like this. So hit like, subscribe, and have a good day, guys.